If you ever see a glowing timer on your screen, don't wait for it to hit 0. That's the first thing you need to know. And if you think you're safe because you don't wander the dark web or download shady files, you're wrong. I wasn't trying to do anything illegal. I wasn't even looking for it. 1 second, I was scrolling through the same boring sites I always did, and the next, my entire screen was consumed by a red glow. The timer pulsed against the darkness of my monitor. Digital numbers, impossibly sharp, like they were carved into the glass itself. 23:59:59. It started at exactly 24 hours, though I didn't know what it meant yet. At first, I thought it was a pop-up, some tacky malware ad, maybe a prank website running JavaScript. I even laughed, closed my tabs, restarted the browser. But when the screen came back on, it was still there. The numbers hadn't stopped for a second. Tick, tick, tick. The strangest part wasn't the timer. It was the glow. It didn't look like pixels. It wasn't backlit like a normal screen. It felt alive, as if the numbers were burning into my retinas, flickering with some light source behind the glass that shouldn't exist. I tried ignoring it, but you can't ignore something that takes over your whole reality. The room felt wrong, too quiet, too still. My fan kept clicking every few seconds, and each click matched the rhythm of the countdown, like the entire house had synced to it. That was when I realized this wasn't just a computer glitch. I reached for my phone to take a picture, proof that I wasn't hallucinating. But the moment the camera app opened, the timer filled my phone screen too. Same numbers, synced perfectly. I dropped it like it burned. I don't know if you've ever felt pure dread before. Not fear of a spider, or fear of a test you didn't study for. I mean the kind of dread where your body already knows the rules of the game before your brain catches up. I knew, without a doubt, that when the timer hit 0, something would happen. Something final. By the time I understood what the numbers meant, it was already too late. You see, people talk about cursed videos, haunted games, strange sites hidden behind onion links. Most of it is garbage, creepy pasta for clicks. But this was different, real. And the cruelest part? Nobody ever explains the rules. No tutorial, no warning, just the timer and the knowledge that you've been chosen. If you're listening to this now, maybe you think I'm exaggerating. Maybe you're already itching to check your screen to make sure nothing's glowing there. Don't, because almost nobody who sees this timer lives long enough to even talk about it. The ones who do usually disappear right after they tell their story. So maybe I'm not just telling this for myself. Maybe I'm telling it for you. The seconds ticked away. 23:47:02, 23:47:01. My whole body buzzed with adrenaline, and my thoughts spun in circles. Was this some advanced malware? A hacker messing with me? Some kind of ARG I'd accidentally clicked into? No explanation fit, because every explanation still had to obey reality, and this didn't. You'd think I would have run, pulled the plug, smashed the laptop, called the cops. But I just sat there, paralyzed, watching. The glow painted the walls crimson, stretching shadows into shapes I swore were moving. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call someone. But some instinct told me it would only make things worse. Instead, I sat still, breathing too fast, staring as the timer kept falling. And now, I guess I should start at the beginning. I should explain how I got there in the first place, because none of this makes sense unless you understand how ordinary it started. I wasn't some criminal mastermind or a hacker diving into digital back alleys with a black hoodie and lines of code flashing across my screen. I was just bored. That's the truth. A bored student with too much free time, insomnia that kept me up past 3, and the kind of restless curiosity that makes you click one more link even when you know you shouldn't. Most nights I lived on autopilot, Reddit threads, YouTube rabbit holes, those weird little forums that look like they haven't been updated since 2005. You can waste entire nights chasing ghost stories, conspiracy theories, creepy images that someone insists came from the deep web. 99% of it is fake. The other 1%, well, that's where my story comes in. I wasn't even looking for anything that night. I just finished scrolling through another endless Ask Me Anything thread from someone claiming they used to be a darknet courier, probably a bored teenager role-playing for attention. Still, clicked through the comments. Someone mentioned a phrase I hadn't seen before. Red room markets are dead, but the contracts are still alive. Contracts. Like Hitman contracts. Now, normally, that kind of thing makes me roll my eyes. People love pretending the dark web is crawling with assassins for hire, but anyone with common sense knows it's mostly scams. Pay in Bitcoin, never hear from them again. The closest thing to danger is losing your money to some scammer in Russia. But that phrase stuck with me. I opened a new tab, searched it, and followed one of those breadcrumb trails you only find at 2 a.m. on forgotten forums. And here's the thing. I didn't feel scared. I felt amused, cynical, like, sure, let's see what this next terrifying site looks like. Maybe I'll screenshot it, post it to a creepy subreddit, get some karma, and go to bed. Because that's the mindset I had. Curiosity. But safe curiosity, the kind where you think you're still in control. It's funny, isn't it? The gap between the person you think you are and the person who's about to find themselves drowning in something real. That's the contrast no one warns you about. I wasn't searching for monsters. I was just a guy with too much time and too little sense. But monsters have a way of finding you when you're not looking. The forums kept pointing to dead ends, broken onion links, 404 pages, junk sites filled with nothing but lines of numbers, until, finally, one of them worked. What I found wasn't a story, it was an invitation, and I wished to God I'd ignored it. The link didn't look like anything special. Just another string of random letters and numbers ending with .onion. I copied it into my Tor browser, half expecting it to be another broken page or some scammy marketplace trying to sell counterfeit passports. But this one loaded. The page opened to a black background with a logo in the center, a white silhouette of a chess piece, the knight. Simple, clean, corporate. Underneath, in cold gray text, it said, efficient, discreet, guaranteed. That was my first red flag. Most so-called dark web hitman sites are crude, plastered with edgy graphics or blood-splatter fonts, written like some 14-year-old's idea of what an assassin would sound like. But this was disturbingly professional. Minimalist design, perfect alignment, smooth navigation menus. It looked like the landing page for a startup or consulting firm. If you ignored the subject matter, you might think they were selling software packages or subscription services. I scrolled down. Contracts, fulfilled, 4,213. Active targets, 117. Estimated completion time, 1 to 30 days depending on package. There were packages. Bronze, silver, gold. Bronze promised accidents and natural causes. Silver promised undetectable disappearances. Gold? Well, gold didn't bother with subtlety. Just the word spectacular. That's when my stomach turned. I should have clicked out, but I didn't. Some part of me wanted to see how deep it went, maybe prove to myself it was fake. Curiosity can be a kind of trap. It dresses itself up as skepticism, and by the time you realize you're not just observing, but participating, you're already too deep. Below the packages was a scrolling feed, a chat log, unfiltered. User, Crowfeather, Bronze, 5K, targets in Denver, need it to look like a mugging. User, Ashentide, Silver, payment confirmed, ETA, admin, night, delivery in progress, updates will be provided. The words were casual, stripped of any drama, just business, transactions, like people ordering takeout. I kept scrolling. The requests blurred together, locations, budgets, timelines. Most of the usernames repeated, like regular customers. My hand hovered over the trackpad, frozen. It wasn't just the words, it was the implication of routine. This wasn't theater, it wasn't shock value, it was a marketplace, alive and humming, like an ecosystem that had existed for years. And then, the photos. At first, thumbnails, blurry, black and white, like CCTV stills, faces circled in red, grainy screenshots of LinkedIn profiles, GPS pins dropped on Google Maps, a middle-aged man jogging through a park, a woman locking her car, a teenager leaving a grocery store.
I forced myself to click one open. The image expanded, sharper now. A man's face, frozen mid-step, eyes half closed. His name was underneath, his address, his daily routine in bullet points. Someone had been watching him long enough to record what time he left for work, what time he came home, where he liked to eat on Thursdays. I slammed the laptop shut. My chest felt tight, like the air had been vacuumed out of the room. But I opened it again. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted proof. Maybe I wanted to believe it was an elaborate ARG, a hoax. But deep down, I knew. I kept scrolling. More photos, more dossiers, and then, mixed in between, a different kind of image. Follow-up photos. Bodies. Or pieces of them. A hand curled against gravel, skin too pale. A close-up of a face, eyes open, lifeless. Some of the photos were so graphic, I can't describe them here. Even now, part of me wishes I'd looked away. But the worst part wasn't what I saw, it was what I felt. A sick fascination, like standing at the edge of a cliff and wanting to lean forward just a little too far. The chat kept updating in real time. User, Glass Moon. Gold, 20K. Make it look messy. I want people to notice. Admin, night. Understood. Confirmed. ETA, 72 hours. The casual cruelty made my skin crawl. I should have left right then, shut it down, deleted my browser. But my hand wouldn't move from the trackpad. The site had its hooks in me, dragging me deeper. And that's when it happened. The feed froze. The scrolling stopped mid-sentence. Then a new message appeared at the very bottom, not from any user, just plain white text. Admin, night. Welcome. I stared at it, my throat dry. The cursor blinked, Another line appeared. Admin Knight. We've been expecting you. And then the site noticed me.
This couldn't be real. I kept telling myself that. Some hacker, some elaborate prank. Maybe I'd downloaded spyware without noticing. Maybe they scraped my information off social media. Maybe... But the more I tried to explain it, the less sense it made. My Facebook didn't have my address. My phone number was unlisted. Even my email wasn't tied to my full name. And yet, there it was. I crept forward, hands trembling, as if the screen might lash out and bite me. The glow from the monitor painted the edges of my posters, my desk lamp, even the water glass by my bed in a sick red sheen. My safe, familiar room suddenly looked hostile, alien. The chat box blinked again. Admin, Knight, package created. Admin, Knight, estimated completion time, 23:12:34. I watched as the timer at the top corner adjusted, sinking to a new countdown. My countdown. I whispered, "No, no, no, no." It was surreal. Just hours earlier, I had been scrolling Reddit threads, laughing at fake stories. And now, in the same chair, in the same safe space, I was staring at a digital death sentence carved in light. The contrast hit me so hard, I thought I might vomit. For a moment, denial saved me. I laughed, an ugly, brittle sound. This is just a joke, a scare site. Someone's messing with me. But then the feed updated again. Another window slid into place beside my name, labeled Target List. And that's when I saw them. Faces, dozens of them, each with names, addresses, and timers beneath their photos. Some already ticked down to 0. Next to those were tiny icons, gray X's, like check marks on a to-do list. And that's when I realized mine had been added to the rotation. I thought maybe it was a prank, until I saw the list. The screen didn't just call my name, it pulled me deeper. When the glitching chat box faded, the site shifted to something I can only describe as a contracts board. A black background, scrolling names in blood-red text, each line flickering as if unstable. At first, it looked like some kind of Hitman fantasy forum. Usernames, profile pictures, random data. But the longer I stared, the more I realized these weren't avatars. They were real people. Every few seconds, a new entry slid onto the list with a harsh beep, a full name, a date of birth, sometimes even a street address. Photos weren't selfies. They were surveillance shots, blurry frames from doorbell cameras, CCTV feeds, even screenshots of text conversations. It was like watching a hit list assemble itself in real time. I felt my mouth dry out. Who were these people? Were they random or chosen? I scrolled, half in disbelief, half hypnotized. The board just kept expanding, endlessly. Rows upon rows of human lives reduced to digital prey. And then, my face appeared. No transition, no warning, just a sudden violent insertion into the rotation. My name spelled perfectly, my address down to the apartment number, a picture of me taken from earlier that day, sitting at my desk, the blinds half open. I swear to you, I had never taken that picture. My laptop didn't even have the camera light on. Yet there I was, staring at myself as though the screen had always been watching. I froze. My first thought was denial. This has to be fake, some elaborate prank, deep fake maybe, someone's messing with me. But then the metadata streaming along the bottom of the window, a constant flow of numbers and codes, IP traces, GPS coordinates, timestamps synced to the exact second. It wasn't just my information. It was live. And I wasn't the only one watching. The chat box blinked again, opening without my input. I didn't even try to type back. My hands were numb, fingers stiff with cold sweat. The site seemed alive, adapting to my panic, as if it could sense me pulling away. It zoomed in on my entry, enlarging my name and picture until it filled the monitor. Every instinct screamed at me to close the tab, slam the laptop shut, cut the power. But I couldn't move. A horrible curiosity pinned me there. Because behind my entry, the countdown timer flickered back into existence. 002359. It wasn't just a list. It was a queue. Faces scrolled by, each tagged with a timer, some ticking down to 0, others already frozen on completed. I thought about all the other names I had seen moments earlier, people I didn't know, but who had been lined up before me. Were they gone? The chat box popped again. Unknown. Payment received. Contract active. My stomach turned. That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't entertainment. Somebody had just bought my death. I slammed the laptop lid shut so hard it echoed through the room, but the glow didn't disappear. I could still see the faint red light of the countdown bleeding through the cracks, painting my walls like the reflection of a fire. My mind raced. How could it know where I lived? How could it have a photo of me seconds after I took it? The idea of being watched had always been an abstract paranoia, something people joked about when Facebook ads felt too accurate. But this wasn't targeted marketing. This was targeted murder. I pressed my back against the wall, waiting for the silence to prove it wasn't real. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No caller ID, just a single text message. 2358. And that's when I understood. That was the moment the countdown started. When I finally forced myself to look again, I noticed something I hadn't before. The timer wasn't in minutes, it was in hours. 2358.12. Almost a full day. At first, that felt like a relief. Like maybe I had time to figure it out. But the more I stared at those numbers, the more horrifying it became. It wasn't just a countdown. It was a death sentence scheduled in advance. Every tick of the clock felt like a nail being hammered in. I paced my apartment, the floor creaking under my steps. Every noise outside suddenly sharpened, a car door slamming, footsteps echoing in the hallway, the rattle of pipes through the wall. My brain twisted each one into proof that they were already here, waiting. I checked the peephole 3 times in 5 minutes. Nothing but an empty corridor. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was out there, watching, waiting for 0. I sat back down at my desk, but I couldn't stop my leg from shaking. My heart thudded so loudly I swore it would give me away. I opened the laptop again, hesitant, terrified, but the site was still there. The contracts board, my face, my name, my countdown, unblinking. 23:42:07. I thought maybe I could fight it with logic. Maybe it was all some kind of elaborate ARG, an alternate reality game. So I did what anyone would do. I Googled it. My search history that night must have looked insane. Dark web countdown site. Contracts board real or fake. How to stop a Hitman website. The results were mixed. Most were conspiracy threads, old Reddit posts that had been locked, archived creepypasta that people dismissed as urban legend. But sprinkled among the noise were fragments, testimonies, warnings, grainy screenshots that looked eerily like what I was seeing. Some said you could buy yourself more time if you paid the site directly. Others swore you couldn't. Some claimed the timer only started after someone accepted your contract, while others insisted the clock was just a taunt, that you'd already been marked long before you saw it. And then there were the horror stories. People who had tried to log off only for their Wi-Fi to fry and their router to melt. One post claimed that a man smashed his laptop with a hammer, only to find the countdown glowing faintly across every screen in his house. TVs, tablets, even his microwave display. I read until my vision blurred, until my eyes stung from staring too long. None of it helped. If anything, the information only made things worse, because the one consistent detail across all the accounts was simple, undeniable. Nobody ever made it to zero and lived to talk about it. I closed the browser and leaned back, trying to steady my breathing. It didn't work. Every second the numbers ticked down, my chest tightened. 23, 21, 45. I tried distracting myself, music, podcasts, anything to drown out the suffocating silence. But the timer kept invading my mind, a glowing phantom behind my eyelids. Every knock in the building made me flinch. Every shadow stretching across my window looked like it was moving closer. I don't know if it was paranoia or instinct, but I started writing everything down, just in case. If someone found me, at least they'd know the site existed, that it was real, that it had chosen me. And maybe they'd find a way to stop it before the next name appeared. The chat box pinged again. Unknown. Research won't save you. I didn't remember clicking the site back open, yet there it was, waiting for me, the board still scrolling, my entry pulsing red. The timer dropped below 23 hours. I don't know what possessed me to type that first message. Maybe desperation. Maybe the illusion that if I could just talk to whoever was behind this, I could reason my way out. The chat box blinked, the cursor pulsing like a heartbeat. My fingers hovered. Then I typed, "Me. Who is this? Why me?" For a moment, nothing. Just the faint hum of my laptop and the pounding of my pulse in my ears. Then the reply appeared, each letter filling in with deliberate slowness. Site. We don't pick. The system does. I swallowed hard. My hands were sweating. I typed again, fingers slipping on the keys. Me. The system? What system? Site. You saw the board. You understand enough. My stomach flipped. I didn't understand it all, but the calm way it typed, like I was the idiot in the room, made it feel even worse. Me. This isn't real. This is some kind of joke. Site. Does the timer look like a joke? I slammed my laptop shut. My own reflection in the black screen startled me, pale and wide-eyed, like I was already half a ghost. But the silence pressed in, unbearable, and after a few minutes I opened it again. The chat box was still waiting for me. Sight. Running won't change your place in the queue. That line hit me like a hammer. The queue. Not just me. Others. A list. Me. You can't do this. I haven't done anything. Why me? Sight. No reason. Just order. Names come, names go. I felt the pit open in my chest, the way they said it, cold, procedural, like I was nothing more than a ticket being punched. And here's the part I don't know how to explain. Maybe I'm only writing this because I need someone, anyone, to tell me I'm not insane. So I'll ask you directly.
If any of you reading this have ever seen this site, I need to know. I need to know if this system is real, if I'm really just a name in a queue waiting for zero. Because right now, I feel like I'm screaming into the void and the void is answering back. I tried again. Me. If this is real, what do you want? Money? I can pay something. Just tell me what it takes to stop this. For the first time, there was a pause, longer than before. Long enough for me to think maybe I'd broken through. Maybe they'd consider sparing me. Then the reply came, cruel and clean. Sight. We don't negotiate with targets. I felt my throat tighten, my chest constricted like someone had wrapped a rope around me. Me. Then what's the point of this? Why even talk to me? Sight. To remind you that it's real. To watch you squirm, to make the hours count. I wanted to vomit. The words pulsed in the chat window, seared into my brain. I slammed my fist against the desk and typed furiously. Me. You're sick. Whoever you are, you're sick. I'll find you. I'll expose you. The reply came instantly, like they'd been waiting for that. Sight. We're already here. My heart stopped. For a moment I thought it meant the site itself, the window, the chat box. But then, almost like it read my confusion, a second line appeared. Sight. Check your window. The message didn't stop at check your window. Before I could even drag myself out of the chair, another notification slid into the chat box. This time, it wasn't text. It was an image file. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the trackpad, heart thumping against my ribs. I told myself not to open it, that nothing good could come from clicking. But curiosity is a cruel, stupid thing. I clicked. The photo filled my screen, and for a second, I couldn't breathe. It was my living room. The angle was low, tilted slightly, like the camera had been placed on the floor or held at waist level. The lamp in the corner glowed faintly, just as it had when I walked past it 10 minutes earlier. My half-empty glass of water sat on the table, the condensation still fresh. Even the TV remote was lying crookedly exactly where I'd left it. It was my house, my space, and someone else had been here to capture it. I stared at the photo so long that my eyes watered. Then, slowly, the details began to gnaw at me. The frame wasn't grainy or distant like a hacked webcam. It wasn't the distorted perspective of a laptop camera. This was crisp, clear, like a photo taken on a phone from inside the room. I grabbed the nearest object, an old baseball bat I kept for emergencies, and spun around, scanning every corner. The apartment looked the same as always. No open doors, no shadows slipping across the walls, just silence. But the silence felt different now, heavier, like it was watching me. My mind raced. Could they have hacked my webcam? But no, the angle didn't match. My laptop sat on the desk in my bedroom, not the living room. Unless they had more cameras. Unless they'd planted something in here. The thought made my skin crawl.
I yanked the lamp away, checked under the couch, shoved furniture aside like a maniac searching for bombs. Nothing. No devices. No blinking red lights. That's when I saw the second message waiting in the chat box. Sight. Nice shirt. My blood ran cold. I looked down. I was wearing a faded green hoodie, the one with a tear at the cuff, the kind I never wore outside. I snapped my head back to the screen, and that's when I noticed it. In the corner of the photo, just faintly, there was a reflection in the glass of the framed picture hanging on the wall. I won't tell you what I saw there, not all of it. Some things don't translate into words, and honestly, I'm not sure I want to put that detail in your head. But it was enough to prove one thing. Someone was in the room when that photo was taken. The realization hit me like ice water. This wasn't just a site. It wasn't just code or some twisted hacker with a sense of humor. This was presence. I slammed the laptop shut, clutching the bat until my knuckles whitened. My breathing was ragged, loud, almost too loud, as if it could draw whoever or whatever was here closer. I turned in slow circles, trying to pierce every shadow with my eyes, waiting for a movement that didn't belong. Nothing. Just the oppressive awareness that I wasn't alone anymore. And that's when it sank in. That was the moment I stopped thinking of it as just a site. The first thing I did was delete the browser. Not just close it, wipe it. I cleared my cache, erased my history, reset everything I could think of. When that didn't work, I went further. I dragged the laptop into the middle of the floor, raised the bat, and smashed it until the screen cracked like ice beneath a boot. The countdown still glowed. Through the shattered glass, behind the spiderweb of cracks, the red numbers pulsed steadily on. 22:11:03. I screamed and hurled the wreck against the wall. Pieces scattered across the carpet like broken teeth. But when I grabbed my phone in a frenzy, the notification bar was already lit up. Hitman.site. Target locked. 22:10:58. The numbers hadn't missed a beat. I shut the phone off, powered it down completely. Then I ripped the Wi-Fi router from the wall, yanking cables until sparks spat and the lights went dark. For a moment I stood there in the silence, chest heaving, convincing myself I'd killed it. Then the TV flickered on by itself. Static hissed across the screen, the picture jittering before the countdown reappeared, bold and crimson against the black. 22:09:44. I sank to my knees, staring at it, my back dangling uselessly at my side. It didn't matter what I broke, what I cut, what I shut down. The numbers followed. Always ticking, always constant, like the heartbeat of something that wasn't supposed to exist. That's when I remembered the fragments I'd read online, the whispers in half-deleted threads, the warnings buried in conspiracy forums. You can't break the rules. Once you're chosen, you don't get out. Some swore the site wasn't even human in origin, that it was older than the dark web, older than the internet itself. A machine buried in the wires and signals, just waiting for names to fall into place. A machine that didn't just track you, but owned you, body and soul. And here I was, proving them right. I was just one more person flailing against something vast, unblinking, unstoppable. a mortal trying to fight gravity. Every instinct in me wanted to run, but deep down I already knew there was nowhere left to go. The rules weren't mine to break. I don't remember how I stumbled into it, whether it was a breadcrumb in one of the old threads or some cruel feature of the system itself, but buried deep beneath layers of broken links and archived boards, I found it. A forum. Not a normal one. This wasn't a place for lurkers or casual visitors. Every username on that board was marked with the same red tag, Target. I clicked through page after page, heart hammering as I realized what I was looking at. These weren't trolls or storytellers or role players. These were people just like me, caught in the countdown. The posts were messy, frantic, written at all hours of the night. Some were simple screams into the void. 17 hours left. Can't sleep. Every creak in the house feels like the last thing I'll hear. Others were darker. I'm ending it myself before they get the chance. Better that way. The threads always ended the same. Silence. No goodbyes, no resolutions, just usernames that never lit up again. I scrolled for hours, devouring their panic, their paranoia, their final words. It was like watching a graveyard of digital ghosts, each one leaving behind scraps of fear for the next unlucky name in the queue. Some tried bargaining, offering tips on how to cheat the system. A few claimed that moving cities bought them more time. Others swore that smashing every device in their house gave them a few extra minutes before the countdown simply picked up again on their oven clock, their car stereo, even their digital watch. But what shook me most were the dialogue fragments. Raw, desperate messages that cut off mid-sentence like someone had ripped the keyboard away. User 43. Please, someone tell me you figured out how... Account deleted. Targeted mom. They're outside. They're... Thread closed. Red line. If anyone sees this after me, listen. Don't make the same mistake I'd... Connection lost. Every word I read dragged me deeper into the pit. These weren't just stories. They were obituaries written in real time. And then there was one survivor, or at least one who claimed to be. The username was old, the posts sporadic, buried under years of dust. Unlike the others, this person didn't rant, didn't beg. Their tone was cold, clipped, almost resigned. You don't escape it. You endure it. But there are ways to last longer. My hands trembled as I clicked through, searching for the secret, for anything that could buy me more time. Each thread was scattered, fragmented, hints of something, but never the full picture. Until I found the post. Just one line. If you want to live past 0, remember this. And that's where it ended. The rest of the text was gone, scrubbed, replaced with a blank white box. I sat there, staring at the screen, my heart pounding in my ears. Maybe it had been deleted. Maybe the system itself had wiped it before anyone could read. Or maybe the survivor hadn't been one at all. Still, I can't shake the memory of what I read next, because that user did leave me with something, advice that I haven't told anyone else, and I'm not sure if I should. I don't know what time it is anymore. I stopped trusting the clocks after they all started syncing with the numbers.
Every screen in this apartment has become a mirror of the same red glow, the same relentless tick downward. 021345, 021344, 021343. It's almost here. I've shoved furniture against the door, stacked chairs, dragged the couch sideways until it scraped the paint from the wall. Every lock is latched, every window is bolted. I keep circling the perimeter like a rat in a cage, listening for anything out of place. My hands shake when I write this. The bat is still leaning against the desk, but now I'm holding a kitchen knife too, because one weapon doesn't feel like enough when you're waiting for something you can't understand. I can't stop hearing things. The pipes groan, and I jump. The floor above creaks, and my heart stops. A car alarm outside makes me duck like bullets are flying. I tell myself it's paranoia, but then I remember the photo, the reflection, the message.
We're already here. I don't think paranoia is the wrong reaction. My thoughts are spiraling too fast to hold in. What if they're already inside? What if they've been waiting the whole time, standing behind me as I type? I keep checking the corners of the room, but the shadows don't look right anymore. They lean, they stretch, they twitch when I blink. The timer is under 2 hours now. The glow has started to blur my vision. I swear it pulses brighter the closer it gets to 0, like it's alive, like it knows how much I'm dreading the end. I've tried calling for help. My phone doesn't dial out anymore. Every number I punch in, every contact I press, it just rings to static before cutting back to the countdown. There's no escape. I keep thinking about the forum, the others, the unfinished posts, the words that cut off mid-sentence. This is what they were feeling. This is the panic bleeding out of their fingers before they disappeared. And I know now that soon I'll just be another silence in that graveyard. I don't want to go like this, but what can I do? I keep pacing, breathing too fast, whispering to myself that I'll make it through, that maybe the timer is a bluff. But then I remembered the survivor's message, the one line. If you want to live past 0, remember this. And then it vanished. God, I need to know what came after. I need to know if there was a way out. The minutes are melting away too quickly now. I can barely think straight. Every sound is a warning, every shadow a threat. I don't know if I'll even last until the numbers hit 0, or if they'll come sooner just to prove the clock was only a joke. But there's one last thing I haven't told you, and you won't believe it. I'm still here, at least, for now. The countdown hit 0, and yet, somehow, I'm breathing. I won't tell you exactly what happened in those last seconds. I can't. There are things you don't want to know because once you do, you can't go back. All I'll say is this: the rules of that site aren't just digital. They're older, deeper. Whatever logic you think you understand, it doesn't apply here. I've been replaying everything over and over in my head. The timer, the messages, the photo they sent, that sound outside my door. Every piece feels connected, but not in a way I can map. It's like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces rearrange themselves whenever you blink. And here's the part that should terrify you most. This wasn't an isolated thing. In the forums, I saw hints. Threads deleted mid-sentence, survivors whispering about other sites, different names, different rules, different punishments. Some said if you ever saw the clock, you were marked forever. Others claimed there were ways out, rituals, payments, trades. But the posts always ended the same. Silence. Accounts abandoned. People just gone. So if you're watching this, if you've ever seen that glowing timer on your screen, you need to tell me. Comment below. Share what you know. We have to pool what scraps of information we have before they erase all of it. Because I think that's part of their game. They don't just hunt you, they bury the evidence. They make sure no one lives long enough to warn the rest. I shouldn't even be recording this. Every keystroke feels like a dare, every second like I'm pulling their attention closer. But someone has to leave a record, even if it's incomplete. And if you're still sitting there in the dark, staring at your screen, thinking this is just a story, do me one favor. Check your webcam tonight, just in case.